Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Welcome everyone to episode 187. In PCA, we often say it's not just the cars, it's the people. And today we're going to celebrate a very special person. We are here at the PCA National Office. To my right, I have Manny Albin. Damon Lowney is at the controls, and I'll introduce our special guest here in one moment. I want to thank our presenting sponsor, Pirelli. Pirelli tires have to achieve the highest levels of performance, safety, noiselessness, and grip on the road surface. Innovative tires that satisfy the most specific mobility needs of the end consumer. And thank you all for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Be sure to have your VIN handy. And for those of you that don't currently own a Porsche, check out our test drive program. Just head over to pca.org. On this episode, we'll speak to Bob Rassa, a PCA member who's been to more Porsche parades than anyone else. We will also talk about the news and give some PCA updates. And that brings me to welcoming Bob Rassa. For those of you that are avid Porsche Panorama readers, you've probably seen his Street Talk column. He's been a member for 58 years and has attended every single parade since 1966. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So I've obviously, you've been in the club since I've been in the club, and I've always read your column. I've always seen, we're lucky to have you in the Chesapeake region here locally, so I've seen you at events. But I mean, today we're just going to kind of delve in with how you even got here, how the club has, changed and maybe stayed the same after close to 6 decades of participation. Manny, I know you have a long time relationship with Bob since he's been around since you've been around.
Yeah, Bob's one of the first people I met when I joined the region.
Yep.
And in fact, I thought of Bob this past weekend because the event that he created, the Chesapeake Challenge, we just held it.
Yes.
And I've lost count how many I've attended, but it's a key part of our region and something that they actually brought back the overall trophy. So now people really get serious and they want to win the Losanzo Award.
What I really admire about Bob is not only has he been a long-time member, but he has been a very active member. What just a smattering of positions that you've held in PCA.
Well, president of the Chesapeake Region several times. I was a national membership chair, national legislative liaison chair for a number of years back in the late 60s and early 70s, and a bunch of other things. I've been the treasurer of the Chesapeake Region and just been active all along.
That's awesome. So rewind back to 1967, or maybe even a couple years before that. What got you into Porsche?
Well, it was actually 1966. My first application went in, and Jane Nelson had lost it, and I had to submit a second one. We knew Leroy Spaniel, Dr. Spaniel, who was the parade chair for 1966, and he was the PCA national president at the time. And he unfortunately passed away right after the parade.
Oh, wow.
And I had been an active autocrosser and rallyist in the Baltimore area. I had a Jaguar XKE. And you probably know that Jaguars don't have a super reliability.
You're gonna trigger someone.
I was going to say, but Bob, you still own Jaguars. I've seen your garage.
Yes, I do. I have 7 of them. But the XKE was not that reliable, so I wound up trying to figure out what else you could buy in a sports car. My mom knew Dr. Spaniel through his medical practice, and he was a 356 owner, so I talked to him. And he suggested Porsche, and I had a couple of colleagues at Westinghouse where I was working, and they suggested, why don't we look at Porsche? So we did, and so I went down 40 West Porsche and ordered one. They didn't have any 66s in stock, 911s. They had one, I think it was black, and I didn't want a black car, so I ordered a 67. in June, and I told Leroy about it, and he says, "Well, come to the parade." So that's why I went to the '66 parade in Colorado Springs.
So not black.
Without a car.
What color did you order?
Irish green.
Ooh.
Did you fly out to that, or?
Yeah, I flew to Colorado because I didn't have the car yet, and that parade was great. The '66 parade. It was kind of fun. All 356s except for a couple 911s and 912s that showed up, but mostly it was 356s. And a 911 owner was, excuse me?
So you, am I right? Are you your background engineering?
Yes, I'm an electronics engineer.
And we find a lot of PCA members are engineers, and they revel in what Porsches represent. So were you not aware? Like, I know you're a car person. Like, you got other makes and models. Like, did you never think of Porsches before it was introduced by that gentleman?
Well, yes, I had. I mean, I'd seen them around, mostly 356s, because the 911s only came out in '65. Yeah. And when I had already settled into the Jaguar, because it was a very, very nice car. What we saw in the area were 356s, and there weren't that many of them. And you see one or two here and there.
So what was it like? A 356 was less than a decade old as a model. Like, what did the general population think of the 356?
Most people thought it was a glorified Volkswagen, unfortunately.
That's what I was thinking. Possibly they would think.
That's what most people thought of. Yeah. Yes, unfortunately.
Until they drove them and realized there's some magic behind it.
They were excellent cars. They just had a look that spoke Volkswagen, and they knew it had a Volkswagen heritage, and it was okay.
Yeah. And then once you decided on a 911 and you saw the introduction of the 911, how are those received versus like a 356?
Well, the 911 changed the perception of Porsche quite a bit. It was now perceived as a modern sports car. Mm-hmm. And I loved mine, and it got looks wherever I went, and it was a great car. It was a major upgrade from a 356. Everybody knows this.
Yeah. So I believe you even have like a Mustang Cobra, and you have some V8 cars too.
I do.
How did the muscle car crowd treat 911s or 356s?
And the Corvette people as well. Yeah. Different nature of beast.
Yeah.
A 911 could outhandle any of those without question.
Yeah.
But those muscle car guys like that burst of speed and that raw power and that noise.
Yeah, but you were at different venues. You were at courses, SCCA or doing autocrosses, whereas the muscle cars were, on Capitol Raceway or something where they're just doing drag strip stuff.
Well, not necessarily. We had a lot of Mustangs in our autocrosses.
Really?
And a lot of Corvettes. Yes, really? Absolutely.
Oh, how'd they do?
Well,
they were set up.
Some of the Corvettes did reasonably well because they set them up for autocrossing.
Okay.
We had a couple of Corvette autocrosses that were really hot, and one lady whom I knew quite well was an excellent driver, and her name was Mike Henry. Her name was Michaela, and they called her Mike.
Oh.
And she had a '63 a split window coupe, and it was they'd set it up for racing, and she would beat everybody.
Wow.
I think that's how Hurley Haywood and Peter Greger met.
Yeah.
Hurley was driving a Corvette, Peter a 911, and he had never been beaten at an autocross, and Hurley beat him.
Really?
And he wanted to know who this guy was that beat him in a Corvette.
Yeah.
That's how the relationship began.
Wow.
Yep.
So you hear about PCA. How back in 1967 did you get the membership application, and how did you find out where to apply? Did you know how large your organization was?
Oh yeah. The dealers back then were a little bit more closely affiliated with the Porsche Club. And in fact, I can tell you some stories about that if we get into it. But the dealership where I ordered it told me about the Porsche Club. And Leroy, of course, when I was talking to him, he says, if you get a Porsche, you can join PCA. Because he was the national president at the time.
Ah, okay.
And so I did that immediately when I ordered it. That's how I got to go to the first one.
Do you remember how much the dues was back then?
It was only like $24 or something like that. It was pretty cheap. I forget the exact amount.
Well, $24 back in '67. That's a sizable amount of money.
Yeah, but it was. It might have been less than that. It might. I can't remember. It's been 60 years.
I can't remember what I ate yesterday.
My memory is good, but not that good.
Yeah.
It might have been, come to think of it, it was probably closer to 15. Maybe
Yeah.
it was like,
I think it was pretty.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
thinking, yeah.
So you get an application, you fill it out,
Right.
and you
it was a simple little application.
and
too.
then
It was twofold.
fold it up, put a stamp on it, send it out, and
Only mail. There was no internet then.
yeah,
No
and then
electronics.
A couple weeks later, a membership card arrives.
About a month later.
A month later.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Jane Nelsero was the executive secretary, and she processed everything. Back in '66, the club only had a little over 3,000 members total. So it was pretty small.
Yeah. And then you headed to that first parade. How many people were at that parade?
It was about 250, as I recall. Well, people or cars. We've had some discrepancy in reporting. Some parades have reported like 300 cars, but it was really 300 people. At the Colorado Springs parade, I think the number was 275 cars, so close to 500 people.
Oh, that's big.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And was I guess, modern day parades and how we're jam-packed agenda
Yes.
from day one to the last day. Was it the same back then, or was it more
It was
free flow?
It was a little more free flow because we had less people, we had less events. It was only a 5-day event, not 7 days.
Okay.
And of course, that was expanded from the early parades, which were a weekend.
Yeah.
And it was more low key back then.
So we have these photos for those of you that haven't been to the PCA National Office. We have photos that we blew up real big for the 60th anniversary, and it has photos of the very first parade. And like it looks like there's so very few rules. There's just cars everywhere.
Yes.
And they're doing what's not gimmick rally.
It seemed like there
Gymkhana.
was
Gymkhana.
less lawyers.
Yes,
back
less
then.
lawyers involved because they're like, they're driving cars backwards. They've
Yes.
got hands over people's eyes trying to
Yes.
do obstacles. I'm like,
Right.
oh my gosh, how
And
did?
there's people standing like right at the edge.
Oh yeah,
Right.
They're standing
Yeah,
right
right.
at the edge of
Fully
the course.
confident that the yellow cone is going to protect them.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, you had to drive backwards in a Gymkhana,
So-
for example, in the parking spaces and things.
So
It
it's like us when we were younger and we didn't have seat belts and when we
Right.
skied without helmets. Thank
Correct.
goodness we survived it all.
Well, yes, and that's the deal. We used to go out and kids would play and they'd rough and tumble and nobody got hurt. And the parents would say if it's not broken, then don't bother me with it.
So after that first parade, you come back, you finally get your car,
Yeah,
and then I'm assuming you just got really active in the Chesapeake region.
that's correct. I got active in the Chesapeake region. I found that it was pretty much all 356 owners, and they weren't thrilled about a 911 coming into the club.
That's funny to think that
Let's change.
it's changed, right? Like we talk
Right.
about all the, when the Cayenne came out, when the Panamera came out, when the Boxster came out, like anything new, it's like just default must not like.
You heard Lee's story. They basically told him to sit in the corner of the room because
Yeah.
he had a
Right.
912.
Yeah, one member of Chesapeake Region that came to a meeting and was going to join and didn't was Leon Raskin, who
Yeah.
Manny
Yeah.
knows pretty well. You know him.
Yeah.
And he went to a Chesapeake Region meeting, and when they introduced him as a guest, and he said he had a 911, they actually booed him.
They booed him?
They did.
That's so mean.
And he says, I'm done with this group, and he left, and he didn't come back
I
for.
remember a whole banquet room booed when they announced the Cayenne at Parade.
Yes.
Remember, even Bob was there. You
Oh,
remember
yeah,
that?
I was there. Right.
And now everyone has a Cayenne in their driveway who
so
has
crazy.
It's like their
Right.
second Porsche.
Right.
Again, I don't get why a Porsche ambassador would want any project of Porsche's to fail. Like, I don't get it. Even if you don't like it for yourself, why would you wish upon the brand that you love to fail at something? That's crazy.
It was the attitude and what they're used to.
Yeah.
I bought a Porsche because I like the looks of it. It's a 356. You brought this new model, and it
Yeah.
doesn't look anything like mine. What are you talking about?
But then how did you answer them when you had a 6-cylinder 911 that, had a lot of modern advances that probably whipped these 356s?
Well, we waited until we got to an autocross,
Yeah. And
and then we showed them.
you spoke
Yeah, right.
spoke with the times, right?
Right. We
Yeah.
we spoke with our foot.
Wow. That's crazy.
Right.
A 911 wasn't welcomed.
Nope. There was
It's
not.
like us and Southwest and open seating, right?
Right.
we're not thrilled about that at all.
Wow.
What you mean it's reserve seating?
When they changed to
They're
reserve seating.
stopping open seating, which we love, and
You're right, dropping it,
reserve.
yes.
So
Right.
we'll see if that's the new 911 or
Right.
something else.
Yeah, at the entertainment at the first meetings was folks talking about the day they drove their 356 down St. Paul Street.
So was it? I know the club was formed, and they kind of had a side name for themselves as the Gripe Group, wanting to come together to help take care of their 356s.
Yes.
When you first came on the scene, was it still very technical? Were like people gathering to like, hey, let's go over and work on, Joe Bob's car, or let's set these cars up, or was it social, or what was the balance, I guess?
That part, the technical part had faded because the information started to flow, and people got to know it better, and Porsche got more involved with the Porsche Club and shared technical information, and Parades had a cadre of technical people there, so it was more social.
Oh, okay.
With competitive events. Autocross and rally mainly.
And what was your, as a member, what was your communication rhythm from the region and your communication rhythm from PCA National?
Well, I got involved as president pretty quickly in 1967 because a number of other members that also own 911s felt that talking about driving your 356B at a meeting and that was your entertainment wasn't exactly thrilled, and the Chesapeake region themselves didn't do events.
Oh.
They just existed as more of a social club.
Oh.
It was the events that were put on in the Baltimore area were the Chesapeake Sports Car Club, the Corvette Club of Baltimore, CCB, the Mustang Club, the Volvo Mark Club it was called. They're the people that were doing autocrosses at rallies.
Does the Volvo Club still exist?
No, I don't think so. I don't
I
think
haven't
so.
seen
I know the car still exists, right?
Well, they're Chinese now, so.
Yeah.
And we talked about that. A couple of friends of mine, about 3 friends that worked for Westinghouse, and a couple other friends. About 6 of us, we got together and we actually suggested, can we have some new elections and get some new blood in and start some things? So we did that, and I became president almost immediately. And I initiated time, speed, distance rallying activities and autocrosses to the Chesapeake region, which they weren't doing. We also joined they had a council in Baltimore called the Baltimore Area Sports Car Council, and PCA didn't belong to that, so I caused us to join that. And when we joined that, we got more involved. So we started having competitive events, and that was a big draw. We started having entertainment at meetings, and that was a big draw. We went from having 20 people at a meeting to having 65 people at a meeting, and we only had 43 members of the Chesapeake region.
Wow.
And because what I did was I rented the Shell Racing Series movies and started showing them at meetings as entertainment.
Oh, okay.
And the word got out, and the number of people coming to meetings just grew. And that's what I had the idea to found the Chesapeake Challenge, because I read about it in Pano.
Yeah.
So I diverted a tiny bit. You asked how the national interface was. Because I became president, I was a member of the board. So I had a direct interaction with PCA National at the time. So I got to know, the president after Leroy Spaniel was Charlie Kuehl. I got to know him very well. I became a national officer, so I was pretty heavily involved in all that.
Did you ever get to meet Mr. Sholar?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, he was at the 66 parade.
What was he like?
Laid back, reserved, there, but laid back and reserved. I mean, he was gracious.
The only thing I know of him, or my reference for him, is when I watch Made by Hand.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he narrates it, and he's
Yeah.
got that very like 50s TV.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna try to do it. I know Manny's waiting for me to try to sound like him, but it's just a very distinct like voice of the era.
Yes. Well, he was a PR guy.
Yeah.
He was an artist and a PR guy, so he knew how to do that. But he was reserved and knowledgeable. Of course, he was very sociable.
Yeah.
A very nice gentleman.
And then how long did he stay in the club? I guess since you started, like I hear at some point he just kind of closed the chapter on
Yes,
PCA
that's correct.
and moves like to Florida or something, right?
Yes, he moved to Florida.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think he moved in the Bahamas for a while and then went to Florida. It's in the history.
I applaud him for that, being able to walk away, because it's very hard, especially when it's something you created,
Right.
to be able to walk away from let other people run it.
I understand it was Virginia, his wife, who wanted to just relax and enjoy the leisure years.
Yeah.
And that's why they moved to the Bahamas and then to Florida.
Oh. Back then, cars or Porsches weren't typically sold at a Porsche only dealership yet in the 60s?
Oh yeah, we had Porsche only dealerships. A lot of them were dual with Volkswagen.
Right.
And they got started because of Volkswagen. That's how 40 West got started. It was a Volkswagen dealer, and then they went into Porsche.
So by 67, there were just Porsche only dealers then?
Yeah, my second Porsche I bought from a little Porsche dealership called Stuttgart Import in Towson.
Oh.
That was had two stalls. One was a showroom. The other was the mechanic bay on Susquehanna Avenue, and it was a tiny little shop and run by a proprietor called Milton Long. And he was a Porsche-only dealer. When POAC became into play in late 69, early 70, Porsche of America Corporation, they wanted to change a lot of that, and they wouldn't renew his dealership.
And what was it like to buy a Porsche back then? Were there cars sitting on the lots, or did you have to order them? And was there this whole waiting period to be able to get one?
Typically, there was a waiting period. Porsches weren't in huge production because, again, the Porsche sales in the U.S. weren't huge. Dealers would sell one or two a month at the most. So,
wow, one or two a month.
Right.
Oof.
So the cars weren't sitting on lots. They would have one in the showroom, and you could buy that one.
Right. Or would you be able to sit down with them and spec one exactly and just wait for it?
Well, you could do that, but the number of options available were minimal. When I ordered my 1969, I was able to. What I did was in the summer of '68, I did a visit to Germany on business, and I stayed over and went to the factory in Stuttgart. And I'd gotten to know Lars Schmidt because he had been attending parades. Lars Schmidt was the director of production at Porsche after Peter Porsche left that job. And I told Lars I was coming, and he says, "Oh, you come see me. I show you around." So he gave me a private tour of the factory and showed me what the 69s were going to look like. The longer wheelbase. He told me that these were the first cars that were going to have factory air conditioning, and some other options. And he says, "Here, you order this and you order that, and here are the numbers." You know. And when I went back to my dealer, and I gave him that, he says, "Well, you can't order these things." I says,
"Just put it in."
The guy says it's okay. He says, "Okay, but I'll put it in, but it's not going to work."
Yeah.
And it did.
It worked.
It did. So I got the first factory air conditioned car delivered in the United States because of that.
Wow.
So going back to Parade, was it hard when they tell you it's 5 days? Because even today, we tell new people Parade 7 days.
Yeah.
And they're like taken aback.
Yes.
And I followed up with you don't have to go to all 7 days. You can go a little, but you're going to get hooked on it. You're going to want to do 7 days. Back then, was it hard to convince people to go somewhere for 5 days of Porsche stuff?
Well, for some of the people, I think it was, but there were events every day, but the day wasn't completely jammed full. Today, we didn't have a 5K run. We didn't have the kids program. We didn't have the RC cars. In the early days, we went to Gymkhana. We had a rally, and then we added the concours after the first few parades, and those were the events. And then they added a tech quiz later. They had, I forget what the heck. It wasn't a tech quiz initially. It was something else. And it did have some tech sessions because we always had factory people there. So tech sessions were big, and they were scattered throughout the week. The tech sessions weren't on one day like they are now. So that made it interesting for people who still wanted to do the technical updates.
I didn't realize the first few parades didn't have a concours.
No, the very first parade did not. Right?
They're more about driving and Gymkhana. And
it was more about Gymkhana and social stuff. Well, the first parade was a weekend parade. You got to remember, it was like a 3-day weekend.
Yeah. Huh. Because I mean, like for me, when I think parade, I think the first thing I think of is a Concours.
Well, that's today,
Yeah.
and because you're a fairly new member.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
When did Concours first start coming
Yeah.
into parade?
I think it was after the third parade, if I'm not mistaken.
The masochist who decided to get a Q-tip out and start.
And it wasn't a Concours like it is today. The intensity wasn't there. We judged more cleanliness, and we didn't go and probe everything, and it was more of a top only. Clean your car up and show it, and how nice is that?
So today they argue whether or not something's original.
Yeah. Is that?
I can
fast
imagine
and
from
original?
what you're just saying about ordering the car. I can imagine back then they were probably still arguing whether that was really in the car, came from the car. Or not.
Except that we didn't have originality as a criteria in the early Concours. That only came later on.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine PCA people back then still didn't walk up to your car and say that's not original.
No, they didn't do that.
They didn't really.
No, they didn't do that. They would say, "Oh, that's interesting. Where'd that come from?" They didn't argue about it. They were more inquisitive. Oh, I've never seen that. Okay. Oh, that's a factory air conditioner. That's the first one I've ever seen. That was the reaction.
How long did you keep that car, and do you still have it?
I kept it for close about 50 some years. I only sold it last year. I had it in storage in California where I had been living for a while, and I only sold it because the brother of the guy that was storing it for me, kept making me offers that were out of sight.
Really? You just sold it last year?
Yeah, it needed a mechanical fuel injection rebuild. It was a 911E Targa.
Wow.
And it was a custom color. It was the same color as Porsche's wife's car.
Okay, which?
This was Peter Porsche's wife, Cooney.
Okay.
And the reason for that is when I had this tour with Lars Schmidt in the summer of '68, I saw this car sitting in the back of the shop, and it was a light gold color. And I said, "That's beautiful." He said, "Oh yeah, that Cooney Porsche car."
Oh.
And it also had air conditioning, and it was sitting in the back because they couldn't get it to work. And that's why it took 9 months for my car to be delivered after I ordered it, because they couldn't get the air conditioning to work.
It's a good thing they've continued.
Right. I ordered the car in August of 1968, and it was delivered on July the 4th of 1969.
Wow.
Wow.
So
That means the wheelbase already changed on a 911.
Well, this was a long wheelbase car. It was 2 inches.
Oh, so you did
the
get a
first- yeah.
69.
Yeah, I ordered in '68. I ordered
I
a
thought you
69
ordered a
car.
68.
No. I ordered a '69 car,
Wow.
but it took them that long to get it delivered. But
So what's the condition of that car? Not to go too
it
far off.
it
but-
is that car. I've seen it. It's in Vancouver, BC.
Yeah.
It's in a collection, and it's beautiful. They've kept it preserved. It had the houndstooth interior, and that's what they called it, houndstooth.
Yeah.
The latest term that people are using.
Papita is what they
Papita
say
is
now.
not what it was called.
Right. Well, I think it's a different pattern altogether. Didn't we just do a article on that, Damon? The different shade or the different patterns.
I don't remember. I don't recall doing.
I don't
it.
either.
I read it somewhere.
So-
The difference between houndstooth and Papita. There's actually a pattern change.
Okay.
Although from a distance it looks very similar.
Okay. Anyway, it was called houndstooth, and they preserved it, except they removed the air conditioning.
Well, we want to get more into your
Parades.
thoughts on Parade, but before we do that, let me recognize and thank our most recent corporate sponsor, and that's Auto Atlanta. If you're chasing down maybe Papita or houndstooth seats, you have Porsche parts that are impossible to find. Restoring a 944 Turbo or looking for a trim piece for your 911E Targa, looking for an original fuel distributor for your 911 SC. Either way, Auto Atlanta has you covered. They've been taking care of Porsches and only Porsche since 1978. Not only do they have every Porsche part for you, they can ship them internationally. They have experts to help you out. No matter where you are in the world, they can help you find it. They are online at autoatlanta.com. They have specialists waiting by the phones, ready to handle everything from complex mechanical repair discussions to full restorations, regular service, or even detailing your car. Keep in mind, they also buy and sell pre-owned vehicles. If there's a Porsche in your garage that needs a new home, they'll buy it. If you need to give it a new lease on life, just call them. They'll buy them. Whether you're rebuilding a classic or just need a single clip to finish your project, Auto Atlanta has you covered. Head to autoatlanta.com. Don't forget to use the 5% discount code PCA, the number 5. OFF. Again, that's autoatlanta.com. Porsche parts, Porsche people, Porsche passion since 1978. back to parade. So you went to the first one in 66.
Yep.
But then you finally officially become a member in 67.
Well,
So-
I turned my membership application in, but somehow or another, Jane, and I handed it to Jane and Leroy at the parade. They said,
Oh.
come to the parade. Because this was, when I was talking to Leroy, he said, oh, come to this parade, even though you don't have your car yet, and you don't have a serial number, come to this parade, and you can fill out an application. So I wasn't really a member, but I turned in my application.
Oh.
But then Jane lost it.
Oh, partying. Didn't make it home. You had to fill out a new one.
Well, she didn't even realize I never got a membership card. So I called and I said, what happened? I said, oh, well, let me think. And oh, I think I lost that. Here, fill out another one.
Fill out another one. And so, did you decide from that point on? Because again, all the parades did you intend that from this point forward, every year of my life, I am going to attend this Porsche parade?
No. I kept attending because they went to interesting places, and it was Porsches, and I really loved the car. It was my daily driver. The car was fantastic. I mean, it was the best thing I'd ever owned.
No.
And I went to the next parade, which was in Alexandria in 1967, because I wanted to meet more Porsche owners. Again, 911s weren't big.
Yeah.
The club was small,
Yeah.
and I wanted to meet more people. Then the 68 parade, the Sonnenfest parade, was in Florida, and I said, I'm going to go to that. You know, that sounds good. I'll drive my Porsche to Florida. And
So you hopped on, I guess, 95 back then?
well, no, 95 wasn't quite built back then. I mean, this is in the 60s. I mean,
When was 95
It
built?
would have been Route 1.
yeah, right. There were parts of it, but
Yeah.
but not the whole thing. I mean, you remember the interstate highway system only was authorized in the late 50s.
Boo thinks electricity and the internet all happened in the, been around forever.
I'm
The dinosaurs had light.
I'm trying to process all of this. Like, I'm debating whether or not I'm driving my 356 to New Jersey, and I have full, like, well-built roads, and I have a cell phone and GPS, and you got in a car to go to Florida.
Yes.
And, like, you have hope and a prayer sitting next to you for all those miles, and that's incredible.
Yeah. We just went.
But you just, I mean, that was life. Like, you did not have an option, and that's, if you wanted to be there, that's what you did.
That's exactly right. You
So
know,
you had like a Rand McNally map, and you
No,
highlight. Did they have Rand McNally maps back then?
yes, they did. But what you did was you went to AAA and you asked for a triptych,
Ah,
the Automobile Club of America, and you
Yeah.
asked for a triptych. And a triptych was a little booklet that they put together that showed your route and all the stops, and it was highlighted, and a little page had about 15 or 20 or 30 miles on the page, you know,
Yeah.
and you flipped it up. That was called a triptych, TRIPTIK.
now I know there's something that PCA used to do. I think it was the March issue of Pano, where they published all the members' address and telephone number.
Well, not the. Well, usually, what you remember is the officers of the regions they would publish.
Oh, the officers of the region. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're
Maybe
driving
back in
right.
the 50s, it was the entire membership, but
yeah,
No, they never published entire membership, but we had a list of all regions.
regions. Oh, okay.
And we had the region president or his designated contact point and their phone number.
So if something happens while you're on the road,
Correct.
yeah. Huh.
That was it.
That was your lifeline.
Every issue of Pano had that, right?
And you had to have a dime, I guess, to put into the
yeah.
the phone that you would
Right.
hopefully find somewhere if
Right.
you needed help.
All right. Payphone.
you're not that young. I know you remember payphones.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's like that is a commitment to drive that kind of distance in a car.
When I drove in 2000 to the parade in California, I used the Rand McNally, the big
Well,
pipe.
yeah, we did too. I mean, with
I
my dad.
remember going to Wyoming and having to move over like 8 pages
Yeah.
to get to, and then pick up in Wyoming again to,
Right.
yeah, that's just the way you did it.
So were there a lot of people? What was the percentage of people at a parade that were local versus those that, came from 4 or 5 different states over?
I would say that probably 15% of the attendees were local, and the rest were from other
Really?
states. Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
So people
Well, we got to remember, in '68, the club had maybe 4,000 members total. Okay, so we didn't have a huge membership. So to get 300 people at a parade, 250 cars at a parade, I'll say, you there was only 30 or 40 members of a given region. 30 or 40 members here, maybe 50 members here.
Right.
So to get 250, they came from other regions.
Tell us, this is going to be a funny one. Right now we have a very complex registration process for Parade because we offer so much a la carte and we need so much details from each attendee. What was the registration process like for Parade then?
You filled out something in paper and you send it in, and it was, you want to attend the parade? Yes. Here's how much it costs.
You put a check in the envelope as well?
Put it, check in the envelope, and you mailed it in, right?
Wow. And then you got a letter back saying you've been accepted? Or?
Yeah. Well, they accepted pretty much everybody. They just got an acceptance, and then you got information how to make a hotel reservation. You had to make a pay phone call or use your landline because we didn't have cell phones back then.
Right.
So you came to PCA right the year we went digital for registration.
Hershey was the first
the
time?
first online registration in '05. But before that, like Bob said, the problem with registration now, if you want to say there's a problem, is that because they made it digital, we can ask a lot more questions. Where back then we weren't asking for shirt sizes of every particular event,
Right.
all these things that we ask now that we would ask at registration when you got there. So the paper form wasn't the printed version of what you see now. It was much shorter. It was really a matter of reading handwriting.
And you didn't have options at meals. You bought, your meals came with your registration.
Right.
You paid a fee and you got to go to the parade and you could do whatever you wanted.
Huh. I do remember it was almost like, not half and half, but we still received stacks of parade registration in the mail that we had to key into the database. So yes, it was online, but there were still a lot of members that preferred to print out the registration, put it in a manila envelope with their check and send it to PCA. And that was just
5 years
2005.
prior, they thought the internet was going to be a fad in 2000.
in 2000, yeah.
So, yeah, it was a lot easier back then, registration, than what we see now, like this two-part monolith of
It was
information.
Simple. It was simple.
Yeah.
We're going to have a parade. It's 3 or 4 days, and we're going to do this and this and this. And you want to come or not? Yes. Okay.
Here's the host hotel. Here's the rate.
Right.
At what point did you say to yourself, or maybe you just haven't and you just are enjoying it year by year, like was there a point where you said, you know what, I really love Parade and I'm gonna be determined to go every year?
No, I never said that.
You never said that, you just did it.
No, it was just, when's the next one? And I said, okay, I'll go to that, And then after Silent Fest was Anaheim, and I said, that sounds fun, because I went to school at University of California. I'm happy to drive there, and I got my trip ticket, and off I drove to Anaheim in
And what
1969.
car did you do that in?
Well, again, the parade was before my '69 Targa had arrived, so I drove my '67 911 to Anaheim.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, cross country
Yeah.
back in the day.
Sure.
So with all the parades that you've attended, are there a couple of ones that really stick out as being special for you?
Well, all parades are good, and the reason for that is the people that attend are just nice people.
Yeah.
You don't have any bad people.
No, everyone's a
Typically,
friend.
that-
And
that
you
kind of
have a
parade.
common interest, like
And
right from the beginning.
we have a common interest, and it's just fun. Mm-hmm. And you get to see people that you know. So, and you get to do some competitive events that are a bit more complex than what you would get at a local event.
Yeah.
And so it's just a fun thing to do. So I would plan my vacation around the Porsche Parade, and I say, okay, I'll go next year. And okay, I'll go next year.
What I tell people when you just do not only a parade, but a PCA event, it's nice to be with people that understand, and I say this jokingly, understand the sickness that we have, right? Like the fact that we can talk about Porsches, we can talk about Fuchs wheels, we can talk about, all these details of a brand, and it seems completely normal. Because if I go to, let's say, one of my wife's tennis friends' parties, like I feel like I'm restrained. I feel like I can't go into all my car stuff because I'll look completely like a weirdo. But at a PCA event,
When you go to a tennis party, do you admit that you play pickleball?
no, I can't. Then that's just.
I know they look down at
I know
pickleballers,
they're just gonna
right?
kick me out, right? So I have to keep that on the DL. But you know what I mean? Like that's what's so great about
Yeah.
Parade is you go there and everybody just understands you, understands why you're so excited that you got a certain color, or you still have your car for 50 years that was ordered. Like like that person that you're going to talk to, they're going to appreciate those details.
Yeah. You got to remember that the average American isn't into a sports car.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're into a sports car, that sets you apart. And when you're into a Porsche, that even sets you apart even more. And to find like people who enjoy the same thing you do is important.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the early days, there weren't that many Porsches around. So at a parade, you found a whole bunch of people that owned the same car you did.
Yeah.
And had the same interests. So it was exciting. It was fun. And you got to meet a lot of new people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, after a while, it becomes a reunion of sorts.
It is, right?
And somebody phrased it really well. He said, "Parade's a place where you don't see someone for a whole year, and when you see them, it's as if you saw them just yesterday.
You pick
and
right
you
up.
pick up the conversation that you had a year ago up again, and you forget the fact you haven't seen this person in a year. It's just everything falls right back into place."
Yeah, right.
And I've been in it long enough that I really enjoy seeing, when I first started in 2006 was my first parade, seeing the younger generation that has grown up through parade, and now they're old enough to own their own cars, and also they're starting to volunteer and lead a lot of the initiatives at parade as well. Like
Correct.
That's very cool to see.
Yes, it is. It's a family thing.
Yeah. Let me take a little detour because I wanted to find out, when did you start contributing with Street Talk in Panorama?
Well, Street Talk's been going on for about 30 years now. It turns out that in the board meeting for PCA in November of 1969, that's when the editor-in-chief, Paul Heinmiller, he had passed away in that summer, and Emily took it over for a couple of months, and they appointed Betty Jo Turner as the editor in November of 69, and I was sitting next to her, and I said, "Betty Jo, I've been writing for my local Region magazine and publishing it. If you need any help, let me know." So I became one of her contributing editors the same day she was appointed as editor. So I'm her longest term editor. I used to do all the new cars. I used to do road tests for the 914, 914.6, the 928, the 924, 924 Turbo, the 944. I did road tests for Pano. They're online now.
Yep.
And Tom Bobbitt, when he was president, had this thought that it might be a good idea if we had some local news thing. Mm-hmm. So that was 2003. And so it's not 30 years, 20 years, but 22 years. So, and Benny Jo came to me and says, your stuff is interesting. You want to try this?
Yeah.
I said, okay.
Yeah, so I do appreciate, because I think it's more of a global look at the automotive industry and what you write about. But yet you kind of spin it as to how it may affect or align with what's going on with Porsche.
Well, I'm glad you like it, because, first of all, I don't make it up. Some people I say, I'll just make the stuff up, and they think that's funny. I get the automotive press, and I have some other automotive editors who over in the UK and Europe that I communicate with, and they share things with me. So I see things that the average person wouldn't see. And I have a stack of stuff like that I could go through, 1 inch thick here. And I pick the stuff that I think might be useful. So I read constantly, and I just put in the things that I think might be of interest. One thing I do publish, which everybody knows, is the Porsche sales, because that's hard to get.
Right.
And that's of course we're going to do it every quarter now.
Yep. All right, let's get back to parade,
because it's supposed to be about parade.
Yeah, right. It's supposed to be about
We
parade.
haven't talked about it at all.
So let's talk about some of your favorites here. I think Manny and you had a conversation.
Yeah, we did.
1973.
But I figured, here's a guy who's been to all these parades.
Yeah.
Asking him, what are your most memorable?
Yeah.
Not necessarily favorite, but memorable, or bring to mind.
Memorable was the key word, and that's because some things happened that are interesting. The 73 parade, which was in our first parade in Monterey, Bob Little was the chair, and he owned a restaurant in Carmel, and Lou Marable was the president. And that was the first parade where we actually went over 300 cars. We had published some data in the past that said we had 300 and some cars in prior parades, but I think those were people. Because Jane Nelson Road and Lou Marable and Bob Little and I were all sitting together looking at that number, And Jane said, yeah, that's the most number of cars we've ever had. It was like 330 cars, 550 some people. And it was the first one in Monterey. We used Laguna Seca as our autocross, so that was kind of fun. I mean, that was having a big racetrack was really important. That was hard to do. At the Sonnenfest parade, we used a go-kart track for our autocross. So it was narrow, and it was in the sandy swamp area because it was a narrow track. But the 73 parade was memorable because it was our first big parade, and it was a beautiful scene. It was the first year we used the Hyatt in Monterey.
Which is still there, and then we went back.
Well, we went back twice.
I was going to say, every parade I think we've done there, we've done at the Hyatt, right?
Yeah.
The Hyatt has been the hotel every time we've been there. We've been there 3 times.
Yeah.
And we've been to San Diego 3 times.
the same buildings?
also.
I think
Same building.
They seem like
they seem like they are.
Yeah.
They haven't changed much. The
No,
Hyatt
it's
there.
the same. Right.
Wow.
They hadn't
The
changed.
window unit air conditioning system
Yeah.
is, I think, the same.
I like that hotel, in that location, but I was like, are these rooms or are these buildings from the 60s, 70s,
I think
or
so.
80s or 90s?
They look it.
Well,
they look it.
couldn't quite tell.
They've done some modernization, but the hotel was built somewhere in the late 60s. That Hyatt Monterey.
Okay.
Another memorable parade, and I didn't mention this to Manny, but was the first Florida parade, which was the Sonnenfest in 1968. And the reason that was memorable was, one, the autocross was on a go-kart track, which made it really interesting. The other reason was that for the concours at that parade, we had 2 issues that we've never had in the past. The first issue was we're getting ready for judging at that parade, and we hear this buzzing sound overhead. Everybody's looking up, and then this airplane comes into view, and it gets lower and lower.
I was just going to say drone.
Yeah.
Those didn't exist then. And so this airplane swoops down, and it's really low. It's flying about 100 feet over the golf course, and we were at a PGA golf course.
What?
People focus on, we'll use the PGA golf course for the concours, but they don't know what happened. This airplane was spraying for mosquitoes.
Oh no! On top of the cars.
Right. About 8:30 in the morning, just before we were getting ready to judging, and
Uh-oh.
he sprays, and everybody gets mosquito juice all over there.
Oh,
I call it mosquito juice, but it's bug spray. So we delayed the judging for a half hour. I told everybody to clean your car.
Oh man! Could you
We're
imagine
getting-
if that happened today?
I can't imagine it's healthy for you.
yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
A half hour later, we're getting ready to start judging. Guess what?
What?
Here it comes
Again?
again.
Round 2?
Round 2.
Nobody radioed the guy and tell him don't do it again?
Radio.
Oh, whoops. Gotcha.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. Wow.
And he did it again. Anyway, fortunately, so the same thing.
At 100 feet, he obviously saw cars there.
He
So
was
he's
paid.
He's probably chuckling and just saying, I was paid to do this, and those cars shouldn't have been there.
He was paid to spray the
Wow.
the golf course, and he's spraying the golf
You
course.
remember, I'm sure you do, the 98 parade in Steamboat Springs, the Concord, they didn't tell the driving range to shut down.
No.
The sprinklers came on.
Well, no, the balls were coming at us.
What?
Yeah.
Because I remember we picked
Yep.
Gene Fierro's Speedster to prepare, and I was working on the wheels, and I hear the sound of something going through air.
Oh.
And then I hear somebody scream, they're shooting golf balls at us.
Oh yeah, that one.
And I
Yeah,
looked, and I could
right.
see golf balls rolling.
Oh, my God.
And
Yep.
people trying to become a human shield in front of their car.
Yep.
Until they called the driving range and told them. And much to your point about the pilot seeing the cars, these guys in the driving range saw the cars and probably thought, what fine targets we have to hit with
Fine
our
targets.
What a
Right.
fun challenge they have this weekend.
so-
Right. Well, we're not done with that concours at the Sonnenfest parade.
There's more.
Yep. At approximately at 11 o'clock in the morning, here comes the clouds, and they roll in really fast, and the heavens break loose,
Oh, no.
and it's a thunderstorm like you wouldn't believe. Okay. So there's a pavilion up on a rise, and everybody runs up to bed. Of course, we only had about 100 cars at the concours, and maybe it was a little bit more than that. And there were a lot of 356s, and even the 911s without Fuchs wheels had hubcaps.
Yeah.
And the way we did a concours then, we took the hubcap off and you splayed them face up on the ground in front of the wheel. So we're watching the rain. Lou Marable and I are standing in that little pavilion, and we see some things moving on the ground.
Like alligators?
Hubcaps.
Oh, the hubcaps are floating?
The hubcaps are floating away with the rain.
Oh my
And
goodness.
everybody's hubcaps are washing down because there was a little
Yeah.
irregular.
How did it come off the cars?
They took them off to judge.
When you
Oh,
back
really?
then,
Yeah.
the rule was you removed your hubcap and you placed it in front of the wheel face up.
Hubcap racing. That we haven't thought of that one.
Wow.
So that was a panic where everybody wanted to try to retrieve their hubcaps. So that's why that was memorable. Anyway, so the 78th Parade was memorable because it was one of the largest ones, and it was a beautiful scene. That Monterey area is nice, and Laguna Seca was a fantastic autocross.
Yeah.
So
San Diego area is also nice, and that's 1977, and I believe there was a special reveal at 77?
in 1977, we used the Town and Country Hotel, and Ferry Porsche was present, and the 928 was known to be in development, and what Porsche did was keep the 928 under wraps until the Tuesday night of that parade, when they unveiled it on a platform in the middle of SeaWorld San Diego, a platform that was just out over one of the little lagoons. And Ferry Porsche himself pulled the cover off the car, and that was the world introduction of the 928.
Wow. Now, how was that car received when he pulled it off? Like the 911 you said earlier was a change, and they didn't like it. How did the 928?
Well, that's interesting that you called it a 928. Porsche always called it a 928.
928.
Yeah, we have some things. We call them 914s, never a 914.
Yeah.
But the 928 was always called a 928.
928?
Right. It's weird.
Okay.
But anyway,
How was it received?
people were amazed at the looks of the car because of the headlight
So futuristic.
configuration
Yeah.
and the large back window. People thought it was really interesting.
Plus, the 924 came out a year prior, so the
Right.
shock of front engine water cooled, they already thrown their first shock, if you will.
Right.
So now you're getting a car that people are complaining that wasn't enough horsepower, was only 4 cylinders into this thing that had a much arguably beautiful body
Yeah.
with a V8. So.
Right.
But it wasn't introduced as a replacement for
No.
the 911. It
No.
was just another model.
It was designed to compete with the Mercedes, the 350 series,
Okay, gotcha.
and the sports car, the SL series, I
Yeah.
should say, like SL. I think the 350 it might have been a 280 at the time. It was designed to compete with the Mercedes SL series
The Grand Cruisers.
as a Grand Cruiser,
Yeah.
and people looked at it as another upscale Porsche.
Yeah.
So it wasn't booed like the Cayenne and SUV. You know, we're a sports car club,
Yeah.
a car company, not a utility car.
Right.
And that was pretty nice.
It's interesting because in Panorama, back in the day, they used to print the speeches from the VIP speakers from
Right.
Porsche. And so when I was getting these pictures for the podcast, I was flipping for the digital version of Pano and read the speech from Ferry Porsche. It was there, and he had a couple lines in there explaining how, while it's nice to look in the past, Porsche as a company about moving forward, and that explaining, I guess, preempting, or I guess he would have already shown the 928. Was
Yeah.
the 928 shown at the welcome party?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
so they would have already seen the 928 talking about why they had to build a 928, what their direction. Maybe think about where we are today, that while people
Yeah.
still want to live in the past, that
Yep.
the future is important to the
Right.
company.
And Ferry had two of his sons there. Hans Peter was there, and Wolfgang was there. And Hans Peter and I and Wolfgang, we had a ping pong tournament going on at the Town and Country every afternoon. It was really fun.
Oh, nice.
And Peter was very good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
He was a tennis player. Peter was until he got a little bit older. But he knew what he was doing. He was very, very good. He won the tournament. But that was fun.
1 year before that was Brainerd. You
Yes.
had mentioned that on the list too.
Oh, well, Brainerd was interesting because that's when, in the early 70s, Concours started to get really, really big. And 911s were selling like crazy. And at Brainerd, we had 59 cars in the 911 class only.
Wow.
And we were at the golf course, and the banquet was in the golf building, and it was only Concours then were Concours then was big. We had probably 350 cars entered at Brainerd, maybe.
Wow.
And 200 in the Concours.
And back then it was just full only for everybody, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there was no street
No,
class.
no street, right. That didn't come till much later.
Yeah.
So we had 59 cars, and I was judging. And we were judging at 6 o'clock, and the pavilion or the clubhouse where they're doing the banquet was up on the hill, and they were starting dinner, and we're still judging.
That is insane.
Right, but the Brainerd Parade was a lot of fun. That was a great parade.
For those of you that are just listening to us and not looking or watching us on YouTube, you might want to go back to YouTube a little bit later because Damon and Manny, they've pulled out some photos, vintage photos, and it's just so cool to see not only the cars you expect, like a long hood, but I'm looking at a 904. I'm looking at
Not
some
just a 904. That's an autocross, and a 904 is at the autocrossing.
Oh,
Right.
that's cool.
And there's a 906 behind it, and I'm not sure what the third car in line is.
Yeah.
Behind it.
There were a number of 904 owners back then. Vern Covert out of L.A. Owned one, and he brought his 904 to every parade that he attended, and it was big. And Otis Chandler owned a parade. Owned a 904. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back to the 77 parade in San Diego. We had Manhattan judging then, and I was a Manhattan judge.
That's the overall Concours
Right.
award for those that don't know.
Manhattan was the overall Concours winner we had at the time, and I had been judging the 911 division class. That was classes then, and Manhattan judging because there's 156, one race car which was a 904, a 911, some others, and so I'm in a Manhattan judging, and I got to this 904, silver 904, very nice. And it's beautiful. It's gorgeous because it won. It's the racing.
Yeah.
And I'm judging interior, and I happen to reach inside. The 904 has a door shell, and there's a little, like a compartment inside the shell. And I reach in to see if there's any dirt, and I pull up a mouse nest,
Oh no.
a whole mouse nest.
Uh-oh.
And without thinking, I said, who owns this car? And this big head sticks in the window. It said, it's mine. And it's Otis Chandler. Otis Chandler, it was the heir to the LA Times publishing.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was a huge collector.
Oh, wow.
And a huge car collection. He had a big car collection out in Oxnard. And I said, what would you like me to do with this?
Oh,
It's the only thing I
no.
could think of. And he had about 2 or 3 people that prepared the car, and he
Uh-oh.
glared at them and he jammed it.
Oh.
And he probably would have won because that car was spectacular, but they missed that mouse nest.
Wow, and you found it.
Yeah, and I didn't know it was Otis Chandler's car.
Oh, man.
It turns out that the president of the 356 registry, Jim, I forget his last name, knows Otis Chandler and didn't know about that story. So we were chatting, and I filled him in on it. That was interesting.
So I do have to ask, what was it like having Ferry Porsche at parades? Because when I started going, it was his sons that were coming, not the man himself.
Correct. When Ferry Porsche went to parade, he participated fairly well. He went to the dinners. He would walk around. You could see him at the hotel. You could talk to him. Very personable. He was very reserved. He wasn't outgoing like Wolfgang is. He's very reserved, but you could talk to him. And he was really a very nice man. He was a very nice man, and he was active. And like I say, he would go to the events. He would watch the autocross. He didn't rally, but he was there.
that's one thing that we're very fortunate to have is the participation from the Porsche family. Now with the grandsons, great grandsons, and
Right.
They're not only showcasing products current products, but they really do relish their history with PCA and Porsche, and they genuinely, if they can, they're there. They want to be there. It's just sometimes either health and or business pulls them away from Porsche parades, but
And that's a good thing. But we used to have a lot more factory participation.
yes.
We would have 2 to 5 people from the Porsche factory at every parade.
Yeah.
And those people were active. They gave tech sessions. They were involved. The second Colorado parade, where we did the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, it was Eric Felius. No, it was Lars Schmidt. Lars Schmidt drove the hill climb, and he made a famous comment, which we reported in Panorama. He says, "I've never been up a hill like that." He says, "I'm driving, and I look, and my windshield, it fills with sky."
Oh, cool.
And Betty Jo printed that quote, and he just was amazed at the beauty of America because he hadn't seen that much of America.
I do have to say that Bob was also instrumental in the Hershey Parade, when Bob Gutjahr and I co-chaired. Bob did the museum, which I still think sets the standard for museums.
It was the biggest one we've had, yeah.
It was very impressive. All the memorabilia we had and whatnot. That was
That's the one I missed. That was the one I had to go to work, and it was right before I started with PCA. I miss Hershey. That's one of my biggest regrets, is not being able to go there.
Yeah, that Hershey Parade was fun. I mean, that was the first time we did a museum, and these guys called me and said, "Would you do this?" I said, "Oh, okay, I can do that." So we got a lot of stuff, and we had one entire ballroom full of memorabilia, and a lot of it is out in your office now.
I think that's where you found out that we had a lot more charter members than we thought.
Correct.
Initially. Right?
Correct. The original charter members were 85 because they were the people that signed up, and then they voted that, well, anybody that signs up through January of next year can be a charter member, and that's where we got from 85 to 181 or something like that.
Yeah.
You want to touch upon the 80s, Asheville and Traverse City?
Well, Asheville, Asheville was a fun parade. We used of course, that was the one we were talking about earlier, where we used the lawn of Biltmore.
Yeah, that's an iconic photo.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
I was telling Bob, we asked if we could do that, recreate that photo when we did Trippin' there, and the people at Biltmore still remembered 81 and said, the last time you guys were here, you tore up the lawn, so we don't allow any cars on our lawn anymore.
Oh no!
From that long ago,
Really?
they still remember.
Right.
Yikes.
Yeah. It didn't tear it up, but it left some ruts. It did leave some ruts.
Was it wet the night before or something?
No, it wasn't. Not. But when you bring 180 cars and drive them on a golf course, you use
some. Yeah.
But they still use that picture in their marketing.
Really?
I mean, it's a very iconic photo.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it again.
Wow.
We used a lodge, and I forget the name of it. Now it's a now upscale lodge. Mike Walker was the not Mike Walker. Mike, what was his name? I'll look it up. He was a colonel, an honorary colonel in the Kentucky National Guard. Anyway, he was the chair, and we're supposed to use an autocross site. It was an airport, and the night before, they said, "Oh, sorry,
Oh no!
you can't do this." So, Mike and whoever PCA president was at the time got together and gathered. Let's say that was 81. Oh, Hank Walter, yeah, and Jim Perrin, yep, and scrambled to find an alternate autocross site, and they did. Like in one day, they found an autocross site. And it was a very low key parade in general, probably about 400 cars or so. It was one of the most low key parades, casual, relaxed atmosphere, because we used this nice luxury motel. Mm-hmm. Everybody stayed in the same place, which is common except for Lake Placid. Where we have to do multiple locations. What Mike did was orchestrate things so that they were as low-key as possible. Everybody got to relax and enjoy each other. They scattered tech sessions throughout the parade. We had a lot of Porsche AG, Otgen Gesellschaft people there for technical sessions. We used to use the Porsche technical people to do most of the technical work.
Yeah.
We did have Bruce Anderson did some, of course, and some others did some, but we used a lot of the Porsche folks, and the tech sessions were outstanding. Of course, in the 80s, we had a multitude of cars. You know, we didn't have any SUVs, but we had
Different
a lot of 914s floating around, a lot of 928s floating around, a lot of 924s, 944s floating around. So,
And what people don't realize, up to I believe the mid 2000s, parades were 99% driven by the region and volunteers. And a lot of
through 2009, yeah, 10 was the first national parade.
yeah, so just think about that. A national conference that is led by volunteers in a different location each year, and with different volunteers year after year, you're almost kind of not starting from scratch, but you have some growing pains each year because there's a new crop of people.
But it also would leave the volunteers drained, and it was taxing.
Yeah.
To put on a parade is a
And no
a
cell
monumental
phones and
task.
emails to
Yeah.
organize and communicate
Right,
for a large
and then you get
portion of that time.
you get an emergency such as you can't do an autocross and you have to scramble to find something.
right.
Man, mad respects.
Yeah. And going to a national, and you're right about 2010. That was the first one Tom Brown did. There were also some inconsistencies that doing it at the national level resolved
Yeah, exactly.
to make them a little bit more consistent.
Let's hit on one that celebrated our 60th anniversary, and that was in 2015.
Yep.
French Lick.
Well, French Lick was a parade that where the host hotel was a spectacular pair of 100-year-old buildings, and the atmosphere was delightful. It was out in the country in southern Indiana. There was plenty to do. There was a casino there if you wanted to do that. We had a golf course that we used for a Concord, but we had to move it because we had rain, heavy rain the night before, and it flooded part of the golf course, so we had to rearrange that a little bit, but it worked. But it was another one of those low-key events. There was a big porch on the main hotel at French Lick, where people would go out and sit in the evening and relax and chit-chat. It was one of those people-focused parades. Is one of the reasons why that was so
we
great.
started this conversation with you saying you go to parades because the locations that PCA has chosen drives you to a unique experience. And
Yes.
I believe 100% that French Lick was that. Most people just believed in PCA and believed in our volunteers that I'm going to go because it's going to be a fantastic parade. But I think everyone after the first French Lick Parade was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was going to be this incredible. Not only the building, but the staff of the French Lick Hotel. They were
Correct.
so accommodating. Like, you wish you could package these people and take them to every location you go. Because if you wanted something, they gave you 110%. And if you wanted to change something, they had an army of people to do everything.
Exactly.
Like, the French Lick Parade, like we all came back from French Lick and we're like, when can we go back? Like, I know we don't usually go back to someplace, very soon, but the demand, everyone's like, we got to go back. And we
Damon,
did.
were you like me asking what's in French Lick?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was actually just trying to get a word in there that, 11 parades or 10 parades, because there was nothing in 2020. 10 parades, and French Lick #1 is still, I think it's still my favorite out of all the parades I've been to.
Yeah.
French Lick #2 was great, but
Right.
there was something about French Lick.
I remember
2015.
the year before Wolfgang Porsche, we were at some dinner, and he leaned over to me and he goes, "What's a French Lick?"
Yeah. Well, everybody says the French Lick is known for the home of Larry Bird. Like, that's like the first thing they say. Okay, so what are you going to do after you know or see Larry Bird's home, right? But
Which I don't think we ever saw there.
we didn't even see it.
Yeah.
And here's the story that I always tell. Like, they were so prepared. And shout out to Joe Vizzozo, who was the GM. I'm not sure if he still is because he was getting ready to retire, but he said, "I'm not going to retire until you come back," which we fulfilled that demand. But when we went to go get gas, the gas attendant was like, we were doing a site visit. The gas attendant is like, "Oh, what are you here? You're not, obviously we don't look like we're from around here." So he's like, "What are you doing here?" "Oh, we're going to be back here with the Porsche Parade in the summer." He's like, oh, I've heard and I've been told that I need to make sure during that week that I have to have super unleaded because you guys like super unleaded, right? So we're going to make sure we have plenty of super unleaded for you guys. I'm like, the town knew that we were coming. Like, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's just one example of why French Lick was so incredible. And we did go back, and Joe Vizzoso knocked it out of the park the second time too, because we didn't, as you said, the first one we had some torrential rains and
to Bob's point, it wasn't simply a let's just move it to the parking garage.
yeah,
Right.
That was a major undertaking.
I remember
Once they
the war room.
decided that
Yeah.
it wasn't going to drain in time,
Right.
that we had to find a new location. Joe said, let's do it in the parking garage. And he immediately dispatched his people to start cleaning it, putting brighter lights in there. I mean, they could have easily said, yeah, just park the cars in there. But he knew by then he had attended 5 parades, so he knew how particular we are. And he completely redid the garage as best as he could in 24 hours to get ready for the Concours.
And they made it nice too. And of course, when we went back, we did the Concours in the garage.
yeah. Another detail they did. So any beautiful historic hotel has beautiful paintings down the hallways of the conference center and stuff. And Joe's like, you know what? I want to take down these beautiful paintings.
No.
And if you guys could put up, give us some ideas or we'll print them ourselves. We'll have some Porsche or PCA specific, artwork throughout the hotel. I'm like, man, again, it would be incredible if we could find that
Yeah.
commitment in a host hotel wherever we go. 'Cause it just made the experience, I mean, top level.
My favorite story is the couple who got caught stealing our sign and the security. Because you remember there was a private road between the 2 hotels.
Yes.
Yes.
And we had these flags on all the light poles for the Porsche Parade. And they figured no one in the middle of nowhere, no one's watching us, but they didn't realize they had cameras everywhere. And they call them one camera climbing up the pole.
They were so nice about it too, because they first came to us and said, so we have a little bit of a situation. We do recognize that one of your banners is no longer on that pole. We do have cameras, and we actually know who took it. How would you like us to handle it? And we said, yeah, if you could politely get that banner back for us. And they went right to the room, and yeah.
But they knew that this would happen because we also did a museum on the 60th. And I remember being in the hallway talking to one of the maintenance guys, and I looked at the banner in front of the museum, and I said, yeah, and this was on a Friday, so we're almost done parade. And I'm like, I'm pretty impressed that this thing didn't get stolen. The guy goes, that's your 3rd one. We bought extras because we knew they may grow legs and walk away.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was a great parade. Yeah.
Yeah. As you were flipping through pictures there, Damon, I do want to recognize a name that's also quite synonymous with parade is Mike Robbins. I saw his name up there. So,
In fact, the second French Lick Parade was Mike Rahman's last parade.
That's what I was just thinking.
That was his
of,
number 57 for him.
57 parades. For
Yeah,
him.
he was only there in a wheelchair for the one one night, but he did.
They got a standing ovation. And
For those of you that don't
banquet.
know Mike Robbins, we actually have a video. I believe it was at Chicago.
That was Chicago, yeah.
Chicago, where he talks about the very famous Speedster.
We interview him inside the Speedster.
Inside the Speedster. And the car that he took to, I think, 40-some parades, right?
Yeah, he drove he had a 356A Speedster black, and he drove that to about 40-some of the 57 parades that he attended.
That's incredible. And I remember Porsche always saying, we can get you in a new car, right?
I remember Hans Peter would always stand up and say, only in a Porsche can you drive that many miles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 500,000 miles on it. Right.
Oh,
Yeah, I would recommend it, and this is a perk for PCA members, but you can go onto the website, click under Panorama magazine, and we have all our back issues digitized. And you can be there for a long time going back and reading. If you want to do parade, they're usually September, October, I think, issues.
Yeah,
and
October lately.
October issue, yeah.
going back and reading about, just even looking at the pictures of what went on back in that parade, and of course looking at the ads are pretty funny too.
Right.
But the pictures and how much PCA's changed.
Yeah,
So-
we had a lot of pictures in the earlier parades in Pano. Lately, the coverage in Pano has been reduced because only a tiny percentage of people go to a parade in the club. Because we have 111,000 members, primary members now.
Yep. So if this hasn't gotten you revved up for attending parade, I don't know what will. So I will just say that for those of you that are in the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, be prepared. Next year, we're going to be in
Lake Placid.
Lake Placid. We've been there before, and you won't want to miss out. Lots of fun. I also want to remind everyone to head over to PCA.org to sign up for PCA's newsletters, performance news, e-brake news, and Mart Fresh, all free. Just a few items. I think you just have one item for Porsche news. Before I get into that one with Manny, I do want to congratulate Porsche for being #1 for customer loyalty among premium car owners, according to the JD Power study. For the 4th year in a row, they've been named the Luxury Car Owners JD Power 2025 U.S. Automotive Brand Loyalty Study, #1.
Our heads rolling at Lexus because usually they go back and forth between Lexus for that title.
Exactly. So I'd like to think that PCA has a bit to do with that. What's that? Lake Placid Discovery Map. Are you going to use that map instead of GPS to get there?
I know how to get there.
All right. Porsche news from the newsroom talking about IMSA and a disappointing race at Indy.
Yes, we're down to going to our last race at Petit Le Mans in Road Atlanta, and it's going to come down to the wire. Porsche had a big lead, but it's slowly been chipping away. I once again will tip my hat to IMSA and NASCAR. They have done it right as far as making it exciting. At the beginning of the year with those first 4 wins, I thought that they would clinch the championship way before Petit Le Mans, but it hasn't happened.
Nothing's a given.
And they finished 7th, the highest finishing 963 was 7th at Indianapolis. They were hoping for rain. That was going to be the great equalizer. Rain never came, and they were 7th and I think 12th, which it was disappointing, even for the GT class cars. Rexia didn't finish very well either, even though it was leading for a while. So Petit Le Mans, that'll be the one to watch, and we'll be biting our nails. Hopefully Porsche clinches that championship.
All right. A few of us on staff will be heading out to...
I think there was one more.
Was there?
About Porsche stock going down.
Oh. Maybe I skipped that on purpose.
But did you buy any?
No, I didn't.
Maybe now's the time to buy Porsche stock because they've been in the news recently. They are getting pounded.
Oh.
And of course, we're going to have, I'm trying to get Steve Postal, have him on, the general manager for Porsche Hunt Valley, to help give us some insight into all this news articles that Porsche is abandoning EV and going back to ICE, which that is not correct.
Yeah, let's set this record straight for all these stories that have been out there. Go ahead.
I think this is clickbait. I think people are, journalists are writing things just to get people to click on the articles, but people aren't clicking on the articles, just reading the headlines. And there's a lot more to it than just the headline. But Porsche is not abandoning EVs. Porsche, like other manufacturers, have gotten hit hard by the Chinese market, where the Chinese they're not stopping buying cars, they're buying their own cars. Mm-hmm. And so that's put a really big hit on foreign cars for China, especially it's all EV. So Porsche's had to repivot, and they made that announcement of what they repivot. Now, if you read their announcement and you read the news articles, something doesn't jive, or people are interpreting completely different. The funny thing was I showed Steve this at an event, and he hadn't even seen the Porsche announcement yet, much less
Steve Postal.
Steve Postal, yeah. So I'm gonna get him some questions. He's gonna get them approved, and then we'll have him on the show. It does take what is it, Bob? Like a 5-year cycle, 5 years to come out with a new model at minimum.
About 4 to 5 years. But on the point about the Chinese, the situation is that the Chinese cars over the last couple of years have improved performance over what Porsche has been able to offer, and at a lower price. And that's the reason why the Chinese are buying their own EVs as opposed to anything that Porsche makes. So Porsche sales in China have gone way down, and that's what's driven their stock down.
Not only Porsche, but all non-Chinese automakers.
All non-Chinese automakers are losing ground in China.
So let's set the record straight, because I've read this a lot too, is people are saying the 718 ICE is going to continue, and that is
true.
Well, not completely.
Not completely
in
true.
the performance editions only.
So let's look back into why they stopped making it. is because it wasn't going to pass the cybersecurity
Correct.
laws that that chassis required. The U.S. that wasn't the problem. I don't think it was more Europe.
Right.
It was
But
driven by Europe.
Yeah, but Porsche had planned that, hey, we're going to have the EV version, so this is perfect timing. EV comes in, ICE goes out, everything's fine.
Production for 718s, Boxster Cayman, is going to cease next month. It's going to cease. And there are plans that there will be a derivative of 718 ICE version down the road, but that is not slated until like 2030.
And the Porsche,
so it's not
Porsche,
a continuation of the current product. That's done. Unless I'm missing something. That's somebody.
Unless they say the top of the 718 chain. So that would mean they are keeping this GT4 RS and the RS Spider, but they still, if they want to sell them in Europe, they still have to do something with the chassis to make it legal.
So
They
think
probably-
of it this way.
What?
Let me get a quick thing in here. So, what engine is going to stick around for a long time? The engine that's in the 911, which means that the top models will have a flat 6, not a flat 4 like right now. And this is speculation, but I think it's pretty spot on. If the flat 4s and potentially, the 3-liter turbo flat 6 or whatever it might be aren't around anymore, but Porsche's still selling a GT3. Yeah, Spider RS, GT4 RS, the top models will be sold. We don't know if they're going to use the current chassis for any of that, the current ICE chassis, or I've also read somewhere else that the 718 EV chassis technically could accept a gas engine. This is something I read that was a quote from Oliver Bluma in an article, unless they got the quote wrong. So what I'm trying to get at is that there's a lot of information and none of it is lining up,
Yeah.
but there's got to be some truth there. So I could see definitely GT4 RS, Spider RS using a 911's engine, and then the EVs will stick around. But I will also say I'm going to be smiling real big when all of those lower spec EV models smoke the top spec GT4
Oh, they
RS
will.
on an autocross.
They will.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Well, according to yesterday's U.S. automotive press, the top line of the Cayman and the Boxster will have an ICE engine in a year or two.
Yeah.
That's consistent with what you were.
And then
Yep.
that comes back to the fact that this chassis is 15 years old.
Yep.
And will it be competitive? I mean, the Porsche enthusiasts won't be looking at another brand, but a lot of buyers will be comparing it to other brands. And if the other brands have a more updated engine and chassis, is the car still competitive? There's so many questions. So, but the main point is that Porsche is not getting out of UV. They're doing what any other business does, is they're pivoting because their number one market 2 years ago was China, and
Right.
now it's just plummeted. So, like any good business, suddenly if remember when Atkins hit Atkins
Why
diet
are you
craze,
looking at me? Why are you looking at me?
restaurants had to pivot, right?
Yeah.
To say, okay, no one's eating carbs, so now we got to make a protein heavy menu. That's what Porsche is looking at now. They're realizing they're not going to be selling as much as EVs, not because people aren't interested in EVs, it's because the market that they had planned to sell all the EVs to is dwindling, and they're
And in the U.S., the loss of the $7,500
Yeah,
up to
that's it.
$7,500 tax credit disappears in 1 week.
Do you think Oliver Bluma will still be CEO of Porsche in a year?
No, he has committed that he will give up that role in lieu of the Volkswagen only. He told that to the investors at their July meeting, that he is planning on dropping this Porsche CEO role.
Makes sense. Totally makes sense.
But keeping the Volkswagen role. Investors have been asking for that for a while, and he felt he needed to stay with it. But at the July 18th, I think it was, investors meeting, he said, no, I'm going to step down from Porsche shortly.
Well, interesting times for sure. Much like some of the stories we talked about earlier, when there's the next generation, the evolution, it doesn't come easy. And so we're in the thick of it all. It's going to be interesting how it all plays out.
I just remember back to reading how pissed off people were when the 356B came out. That was the end. That was the end of the world too.
We're with the A's, you B's.
You screwed it up when you came out to B.
A's are the best. Oh man, so funny. All right, for those of you that are interested in racing wheel to wheel, but online with PCA members, check out PCASimRacing.com. For those of you looking for insider swag, head over to PCA's web store. We have water bottles, insider podcast mugs, and insider teas. And if you're looking for some decals, we'd love to send you a set of decals. Just send us your address information to podcast@pca.org, and we'll get them out to you. And man, what a treat it's been to talk to you about close to 60 years of PCA fun. I hope that I can have just as much fun as you have.
It's been great. The club is fantastic. The people are what really make it, of course. So
Absolutely.
the car is significant, but the Porsche people are just the greatest.
That's awesome. Thank you, sir. Anything else before we wrap up? Damon?
Watch Damon's video of the Macan EV.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
When I wrote up the run of show, we didn't have the link yet for his review, but did a great job with the base Macan.
Yeah.
And for future tech quizzes, that is the only rear-wheel drive SUV they've ever built, which I didn't know that till we got the orientation from Calvin Kim. I never realized that. That's right. That's the only non-all-wheel drive SUV Porsche has built. But
what I liked about the video was the real world experience as he was keying in his destination to go charge and had to pivot as he realized that charger is either wasn't
I put
there.
in the wrong destination. I should have been paying a closer attention to the type of charger.
But that's a newbie, right? Like once
Yeah,
you get
exactly.
once you get that dialed in and you know where you're going or you know how to do it, like it's going to be.
Yeah, I liked it because I also used the Porsche app when I drove it. Because Calvin Kim told us that's the best thing to do. But I noticed it had the speed at 350, 250, and I didn't need it for a while, so I saw 350. I clicked it and it said you're 45 minutes away. I'm like, that's perfect time. I lucked out that there was a pizza place right across from, and it was lunchtime, so it was the world's everything the planets aligned perfectly.
There you go.
Well, speaking of lucking out, there's one more luck out thing of talking about the Lake Placid Parade next year.
Yeah.
The EV people will be happy to hear that they have already installed Porsche charging stations at all of the hotels we're using for Lake Placid for next year.
Oh, there you
Because
go.
of the parade or just because they...
Because of the parade. They're already installed.
Wow. Oh,
That is
so
going
we're
to
off
be
to a good
probably
start.
one of the biggest parades.
Oh.
Because back then, we used to actually sell out a parade, or theoretically have a sellout number. Now we don't really. We sell out of events, we sell out of hotel rooms, but we don't really have a sellout. But
It's gonna be a big one.
In the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, that's the bulk of our membership. So that's
Correct.
a lot of people I talk to say, I'm going to Lake Placid. I didn't go to Oklahoma, but I'm going to Lake Placid. I'm thinking that's going to be a lot of people.
It is, and you don't want to miss it. All right, folks. Well, thank you for listening. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Consider sharing our show with fellow Porsche enthusiasts. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.